Welcome to the Chairmen
Yo,
podcast with Ned.
this is
and Nathan.
episode 3, baby.
Let's go. It's like, so what do you call an episode when you've recorded it, but the volume was muted the whole time? It's just like
2 idiots on a
3.1.
podcast.
Yeah. So really, we actually did episode 3.
Episode 4,
And then-
but it's really episode 3.
I loved getting that message from Kenya just saying, hey, if you guys could re-record
Well,
the whole...
it said Ned's audio sucks.
Oh, man. Whoa. But it's all good because we're here doing it again, and it's going to be fresh. And we decided to do it on a different topic
Because we don't remember.
because we don't really remember. And that's sort of our style, to just like riff. And so what are we talking about today, Ned, on episode 3 of the Chairman podcast?
We brought it up yesterday in C12, and I really liked the premise. And I was like, dude, we should throw out this. But just kind of like the difference between lifestyle and legacy businesses, right? Like, because everyone wants to build a business to support their lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I think there is this, especially in today's day and age, where you just see people like turning on a camera and getting a couple thousand followers and making a couple grand a month.
Right.
You know, that could be a lifestyle business, but there's also a place where that could potentially turn into a legacy business. And so I kind of wanted to chat through like our thoughts on what that looks like. And, you know, we probably have some people that listen to this podcast that are individual contributors or leaders inside of their organization that are looking to step out. And all of the advice is on lifestyle businesses. I haven't seen anyone say, step out and build the next Apple. Right. It's always against going out and doing that. Right. So yeah, I thought this would be super fun to talk about.
Cool. Yeah, I'm pumped. I've been forming and formalizing thoughts and opinions and just kind of world according to Nathan around this. So I'm glad we have this opportunity to flesh it out in this forum, in this way. And as you were sharing there and kind of teeing it up, what came to mind was the formula that we use for our academy, which is mindset plus skill set plus tool set equals asset. So I think it might be good to spend some time. We can weave in and out. It doesn't have to be sequential, but like there's some mindset, I think, around whether you are embarking and building lifestyle business, legacy business. I think there's actual skills too that you have to develop depending on what you choose. And then there's like a tool set, you know, there's like a stack of solutions and infrastructure and SOPs. And, you know, like always, mindset is going to bleed through all of it. It's probably 80% of it.
Yeah.
But I think if you reverse engineer it and you say, okay, fast forward X amount of years, 5, 10, 15, 20, however you want to map it out. And you're saying, what does this asset that I've built look like? What does it feel like? You know, what is it in its existence and in all its glory? Then you can start breaking that down. So I think I'd like to start with mindset and just start talking. Yeah, heck yeah. So I like, by the way, real quick, just before you get us into more meat and potatoes, I found it interesting what you said there. I think it's important to note some of the sensation around building lifestyle. I think it's sort of in that work from anywhere, kind of COVID-esque.
It's
like
this freedom lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going out there. Like work. Like I remember that being like a big thing. 2014 to 2018. You would see all the coaches and gurus. Oh, we're Bali today.
Yeah. My question to those people is like, are you married with kids?
Yeah.
Because you're not. Like, you're totally not.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Right. I mean, we were talking legacy. We're also factoring in like, do you imagine your children or your grandchildren possibly working at this company? Not like they have to. I mean, I'm going to disown mine if they don't, obviously. Like,
Here's an interesting
but
thought
yeah,
that just literally popped in my head. As you were saying, it's like a lifestyle business can make you comfortable, right? It is something where if you're single or recently married, have a girlfriend, whatever it may be, you can go to Bali on a whim because you're making $1 million a month. You know, typically those individuals have like the fancy cars, the fancy houses, like they show off a lot. Can make you comfortable. When you're building a legacy business, it makes you unforgettable.
Mm.
And because it's like, yeah, maybe your kids do take it over. Maybe it's got your name on it. But even more than that, when you start to build legacy in your community, in your industry, legacy literally means like beyond you,
right.
right? It's the impact that you have beyond you. And I think about all of those guys and gals who were taking pictures from the beach. Where are they now? I don't remember who they were. Sure, there's a couple that are still around,
Right.
but I think that's another thing that, you know, I think about when I'm thinking about, cool, what am I doing with the money? What am I doing with the businesses? What am I doing that's going to set, you know, I say it all the time, change the trajectory of your last name. Like, I truly believe that that is, I mean, that's what I am setting out to do. But yeah, I think a lifestyle business, that kind of thing is, it's not like, oh, I'm going to do this so that my kids, they're probably not thinking about the future
Yeah.
family and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't map this out. And we probably could, but I would just verbally like to put some characteristics to like define and kind of frame out some of the differences. I would say this just kind of off the top of my dome. If your business is highly dependent on you, you might have a lifestyle business. Remember those? You might be a redneck joke, right? Like, I think it's important to take inventory as well. So it's like, okay, what do you want?
Yeah.
And then like, what are you calibrated for? What is your current trajectory? And then get clear about that. And look, no shame, no judgment. Just to state it, we're building, my core is a legacy business. It's not a lifestyle business. And you mentioned comfort. I would say that if comfort is what you're seeking, and again, no judgment, like go lifestyle. You can get to that pretty quickly. Like
50 grand a month, easy.
For sure.
So you are
right.
money.
Right. And for others, it could be literally 10 grand a month because whatever, they have their freedom or they have their autonomy. So it's relative, but, and also like, do you live in Louisiana? Then like you're killing it, you know, but if you're in certain parts of the country making 40 grand, you're not killing it. So I think recognizing if it's comfort that you seek, and not just for the sake of comfort, it could be noble. It could be because, hey, I want to have more bandwidth mentally and emotionally and time-wise with my family now. That's probably smart. You know, like that's good. Like I wish I could get myself to subscribe to that. It would probably be healthier in the here and now. And a lifestyle business just comes with a lot less sacrifices. I mean, there's always going to be sacrifice in entrepreneurship. There's always going to be things that you have to delay gratification on, that you have to maybe live without. So that like the struggle's real either way, you know? So if you're living in an RV and you've got 7.5 clients and that's paying you 13 grand a month and your expenses are 3 grand and you're making 10, well, you're sacrificing maybe the ability to buy a house sooner because you can't prove your income in the same way. So there's going to be trade-off here either way. But I've found that getting really clear about which type of business you're building will help you in the moments when you go, well, we could do it this way, which I would call like a temptation.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, you and I have even had these conversations a bit, so it's probably fitting that we're like doing this on air. It's like some of the decisions that I've made up to this point and continue to make are because of this legacy mentality of saying, hey, we're going to build a business that is not fully dependent on us.
Yeah.
And I think that's another like barometer with lifestyle businesses. You are typically trading time for money. And I'm not even talking about self-employed, but what I don't think people do enough is they don't assess the risk of their business relative to its people. So if you say like, hey, we're doing $1 million a year in revenue, and it's like, awesome, that's really cool. How many people do you have? And it's like 5. Huh, okay. So if you distributed that equally, not that
you had 0 overhead.
Right, exactly. Right.
They were your only
Then that's $200,000 per person that the company is generating. Obviously, you're not paying everyone $200,000 a year because that's just not how business works. But it's like a flip of sorts, right? Because some people would say, oh, well, you need to let one person go. And I'm like, that's interesting because I see it as, wait, you're depending on you and only 4 other people to keep this business going and growing. Now, there's a practical application here, right? You're not necessarily bringing on a 6th person at a full-time salary just because you want to transfer that risk further. But there are creative ways through building a collective, by having partnerships, by using technology, by like offloading or even outsourcing. You can start to factor this like people power into your business that says, okay, I want to move it towards more people, more infrastructure without it costing these huge amounts of money. And I think that generates and creates like a growth mindset. And there's always going to be a struggle between the chicken or the egg as to like, well, did I build the team and then the team went out and generated the business, or do I generate the business and then get the team? And I'm not saying there's an exact science.
I think that is the key, right?
Right.
So what you just said is the key, right? Because $1 million business is something one person can build with ChatGPT and a small CRM and
a couple contract relationships,
and even maybe not.
Right.
Like I've got buddies of mine that do 4, 5, $10 million, and it's them and a buddy.
Wow.
And it's just like, cool, they're doing consulting, right? And they're in there and they're doing it and they just enjoy it.
And what would you say, like, no judgment, but on a percentage, like 1 to 100%, how much of that business is dependent on them? Like their personality?
It's
100%.
Yeah, 100%. But I think the thing that you said that's important to note is, so if like one of them left, business would probably cut in half.
Right.
There would be a dilution of sorts, right? But the thing that is key, no matter what business you're growing, whether it be lifestyle, whether it be legacy, is the individuals that you have on your team have to go be generating revenue. And that doesn't mean they all have to be salespeople. Right. But they have to be engineering something that can be taken to market. And then you obviously have to have people that can take it to market, right? And that's why, like in tech, there's founder-led sales. And it's one of the things that is so important early on in a business is that the founder is out learning the market, having the conversations, figuring it out, building the operating procedures that they can stick someone in. And I think that what happens is that, the difference, the mindset shift is this, and I want to double back to something you said, is like, there's no shame in wanting a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with a white picket fence, 2 kids, a dog, living in the suburbs.
Right.
If that's what you want, like, stop trying to go and be the person that doesn't want that and forcing yourself into situations that do. If you want to live on the ocean in a 10,000 square foot house with a maid, right?
Right.
All of those things. There are going to be things that need to happen, and skill sets and tool sets and things of that nature that you have to build, and or you're going to have to tie yourself to a person or a set of people that do, right? And I think the reason that lifestyle businesses are so attractive is because you really can, especially in today's day and age,
Right.
start to build something that allows you to live in that house
Right.
on the beach with the maid without a bunch of headcount, and also dispersing the risk, right? But here's the thing is like you can't easily shift a lifestyle business to a legacy business
Right.
once it has reached that point. And typically what happens is you end up getting acquired, or
Right.
you've made enough money, you've been smart with your investments, and you can kind of leave that and it kind of runs on its own.
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest thing that I want to double down on that you said is like the 5 people in that $1 million business, realistically, 4 of those 5 people need to be out developing business, right? And scaling that business. If they're sitting back and just kind of like hanging out, talking, and, doing busy things,
Waiting
that business
and watching
yeah.
and hoping. Yeah, I mean, they're just sort of waiting and
$1.2 million next year, and then 1.3, and then 1.4.
because here's what's really happening in those businesses, and dude, I think that that's the great majority of what's happening is you have one rainmaker who is truly the only salesperson. Everybody else has the nets. They can fillet the fish. They can cook it up and serve it. And obviously you have to have your ops and your fulfillment like in place. But if there's not a culture of revenue generating, efficiency creating, upselling, ecosystem building, like a way that we've built my core is that, I like ice cream. I like ice cream a lot. And part of the reason I'm never going to sit there anymore is because I don't actually have as big of a gut as that last podcast showed. And a little bit. Yeah, dude. Well, that just, it kind of sits back and I'm like, hey, I'm Santa Claus. But anyway, so ho, ho, ho. I am losing my train of thought, but
love ice cream.
Love ice cream. And if I'm going to go get ice cream, I like to have not just 1 scoop, but 2 or 3.
What's your favorite flavor?
Man, it's been evolving. Ben and Jerry's, I really like their Chunky Monkey because I'm a bit of a Chunky Monkey.
Is that the one with like the cookie dough and the brownie?
That's half baked. And if you do it half baked, it's so good. Yeah. So my wife loves half baked, and she's kind of converted me. So I go back and forth between Chunky Monkey, which is the banana with the walnuts and the chocolate chunks, and then the half baked is fire. Yeah, so it's banana ice cream. You know, like banana ice cream.
I'm also the kind of guy, so I don't like ice cream.
Oh man,
I do love going to like an ice cream shop or froyo and
loading it up.
Yeah, with like toppings.
Yeah, you're like my 7-year-old. Yeah, but do you actually eat it? Because he does not. Yeah, you crush it. Yeah, he eats half of it. He fills it all the way up. I'm like, so I'll just wait and eat it. So you got to find ways to double dip and triple dip is the punchline here. Like, I think so many people just think in terms of, oh, I'm billing this client at this amount. That's the money we make. And it's like, okay, but I bet you every single business on the planet, if they got smart, could start making money from the manufacturers and going like, wait a second, we're installing these HVAC systems. Why don't I go to the manufacturers and say, hey, if I sell warranties on these things, will you cut me in? Random thought, right? There's always more meat on the bone. So like with our people ops side, this, we bill the client for the advisory services. They pay the profit share subscription. That hits our books as revenue that we billed for. Then we put them onto a payroll platform. We get revenue share from that payroll platform. Then we enroll employee benefits. We're licensed We are the broker of record. We get paid on all of those benefits.
Yeah.
Then they do X, Y, and Z, like put them on a 401k platform. We get paid. And we've even leveled that up further where now we've built paid partnerships where they're sponsoring our events, paying to be on our content. And that's a mindset. So like, I could have just stayed on a one scooper. If I could have just gone to Cold Stone and said, like it, but I was like, love it. Gotta have it.
I was gonna say, what's that?
It's like it, love it, gotta have it. Yeah. For my little fatties out there, you hear me?
You want to be fat.
All right.
Because like, I think that is the difference. Because what I'm talking about with these lifestyle businesses, whether the lifestyle businesses make 50 million, 100 million, 200 million dollars a year, right? I think a lot of it is, hey, we're getting paid. This is a subscription. We're doing this, and we're able to continue our lifestyle. I think the legacy business is bringing more people.
And you know what you just said? It's funny. I think you're right, but I think like, I know we were kind of just saying it, but to go with the analogy of like an organism, a body, a skeletal system, I think what you want to do is be meaty, because fat would imply like bloat or inefficiency. Like if you are, this is just I think maybe a legit thought, like nimble, scrappy does not mean scrawny. It does not mean weak. If you're nimble and lean, you still have to build the freaking let's go, right? So like you can find more meat on that bone by going into the layers and cutting into it and going, look, well, wait a second. There's more money here. How do I get a little bit of that action? How do I get it? And what I think typically happens, and this is definitely true for lifestyle business builders, whether they want to admit it or not, you're a control freak. You want to put your stamp of approval on everything. You get the satisfaction of knowing that you created it and you delivered it and you like blessed them with all of your brilliance. Because typically to get to scoop 2 and scoop 3, you have to do things that are passive and or like endorsing another person and not necessarily the people in your company. It's like, oh, you know what? Let me introduce you to this partner of ours. They can take care of this piece and they'll guarantee it. Like this is what they do. And then you get a little piece of the action. Well,
initially you probably don't, but if you continue to, then there's a conversation to be had because you've sent 10 people.
Right. Yep. And even having that vision to say like, oh, let me come from contribution. Let me have this like giver's gain mentality. So that's just where I think like we've been able in our business to maximize and like optimize almost like our own land and expand type model. But the key there is keeping it congruent and having continuity so that it's not random. You know, you wouldn't be getting ice cream and then there'd be like, do you want us to throw some pork on this? It's like, what? You know what I mean? It's like bacon, right? That's true, right? So you got to make sure that like the toppings and the things that you're adding to it make sense and are part of the overall thesis. And kind of back to the topic, like a mindset shift for me has always, and just to be clear, like I've always approached it as legacy.
Yeah.
Like I'm building a legacy business. You mentioned something earlier that I totally agree with, which is you're building it so that you can leave it and pass it on and that there's a succession plan that outlasts you. The reason I'm always going to champion personally for legacy, if I have to choose, and try to like, I literally even try to like challenge people and encourage people in this. I think it's the safest plan because even if you don't keep it in the fam for 100 years or it doesn't sell and keep going with new ownership, you prepared it to be legacy driven and succession driven which is where all your SOPs come in.
Yeah.
It's where the manual, it's where the packaging, and constantly working on it that way with the mindset that's like, wait, if I'm not here giving everybody the secret sauce, or even worse, putting the secret sauce together and on it myself, does this business keep going?
Yeah, that's a super interesting way. It's almost like even if you're building a lifestyle business, you should have the mindset of legacy, because it doesn't matter what business you run if you don't have processes in place, if you don't have automations, if you don't have something that, if you go on vacation, money stops rolling in completely, then I mean, your lifestyle is only going to be a blip. That, at least that lifestyle that you want, is going to be a blip on your radar.
And that doesn't even factor in if something happens, like a life event, or you need to truly take like a month or 2 or 3 because somebody's been diagnosed with something. You yourself have a major injury. I don't spend my time around a lot of buses, but if I were to get hit by one of them, like I would want to know that the show would go on. And, kind of origin story here as far as this mentality. Interestingly enough, I learned this through network marketing. Yeah, because in network marketing, you are not really responsible at all for the company's infrastructure. You have very little say on their marketing, their products, their choices. You're kind of their marketing and sales arm, but you've been a little bit convinced that you're a business owner. And we're going to do a whole nother episode on this, by the way, because I love talking about the difference between being entrepreneurial and being an entrepreneur, the adjective versus the noun, where it kind of parallels with this conversation, which is like, if you're entrepreneurial, then yeah, build a lifestyle business. Like, use that self-employed, like I'm going to do this on my own. Frank Sinatra, I did it my way, to make a living. And you're not really starting a business. You don't really own a business. You kind of own a job. Like you bought a job, or you created a job, and that's okay. Like, no judgment. And nowadays you can build like really cool infrastructure because of technology, because of AI, because of a remote world of work. You can do that. It's perfectly fine. No shame in that game. If you're saying and talking and like pretending that you're building like a true enterprise, well, then you're going to need to get like a major mindset shift. And in network marketing, we were taught to build large organizations to distribute the risk amongst many, many people. Yeah. So my team, I grew it to about 3,000 producers. Now, there's an 80-20 in that, just like any kind of sales volunteer army. But even so, if I look back at my book, and it was a membership-based product, and I can tell you the numbers. There were about 11,000 memberships sold. I personally sold like 500. And most of those were because, like any network marketing company, you're selling the person that you're recruiting the product. So I recruited over 300 people personally to that company, and then it spawned 3,000. But if you do the math on that, the money that I earned, 95% of it came from other people's efforts. Yeah. And even more, I learned how to lead people, which is way more valuable than
But I think the key there is it is other people's effort. Yep. Right.
OPT, other people's time.
I mean, yeah.
OPM. Yeah. OPE. Right. Seriously.
I think that's the thing, is like, and the trading time for money is like the guru way of being like, right. For yourself, which you're literally just going and doing that thing. But it's not necessarily a bad thing to trade time for money if that's what you want and that's what you're, aspiring to. But I think if you are trying to build a business, right, a sustainable business that outlasts you, it is going to take other people's time, energy, resources, finances, but they have to be producing, right? So you sold 300. If you had stopped at 300 and no one of those 300 people did anything else, the buck stops there.
Right.
And that is, I think, the the difference between lifestyle and legacy is the buck stops with you. With legacy, when you build a team that is producing, whether it is producing a product that can go out and be sold, whether it is selling the product, marketing the product, putting that out into the market. Because what I see in a lot of cases, and I mean, I see this even in tech companies, and it's very easy to hide once you get into a big organization, is you do have people that just kind of do the bare minimum,
right?
Sit there,
Yep.
Receive the paycheck. And in a lifestyle business, you can't hide, right? If you don't make the calls, if you don't send the DMs, if you don't go out and produce the product, then nothing happens, right? But in a legacy business, it's like you have to find the people that are entrepreneurial. Maybe they aren't entrepreneurs, they're intrapreneurs that are able to go do that. But the mindset shift is, I'm going to build a business that is sustainable without me.
Right.
I'm going to go build a business that when I wake up in the morning, I have, deposits into my bank account. Right. And for some people, here's the thing, like that could be just an online business. It doesn't have to be
e-commerce,
or the thing is,
Shopify this.
The difference that, and maybe you and I see this differently, but I see a legacy business. I could build a legacy business by myself with ChatGPT and a couple of other things that could run without me, right? I don't necessarily think legacy means more people.
Yeah, I think it's an aggregate of resources, and people are part of that. I don't think it's only that. I think it's sort of like, and I don't know, maybe machines will be building more machines here soon, but everything I've seen that's been built, either a technology or a software, a person has built it.
Yeah.
Or at least like tipped the first domino.
Well, it's typically people buying your thing too.
Well, that's the thing. Right, exactly. I was just gonna say, dude, those little robots when we were at our event, that's pretty wild. Yeah. But like yeah, right. I mean, we're talking about the supply side, but the demand side is people. Like people are buying this thing, they're subscribing to this thing, they're purchasing your what. And to build a legacy business, the lens that I think helps like sustain the energy to get it there, because here's the other thing about a legacy business. You could graph this out. If we had like visuals, I would show it, but I've heard it this way, that you're going to have to do some things for a while that you don't get paid on.
Yeah.
So that later you get paid for things that you no longer do. So if you want that inverse relationship, that disproportionate relationship between time and money, you have to pay for it on the front end, where it's an immense amount of time for a small amount of money, so that later you have an immense amount of money for a small amount of time. I've never seen anybody like beat that. Yeah, you can't like circumvent that. Like you have to just like plow through and build through and grind through and, more importantly, grow through all of that. So a lifestyle business, in my mind, sort of says, oh, I want to get paid what I'm worth right out the gate.
Yeah.
It's like, fair.
Yeah.
It's called a job, right? You're almost saying, I want to, take my time, my energy, my ingenuity, my smarts, and I want to apply it to this space. And I'd like to be paid immediately for it.
That's why people become consultants, because it's very easy for you to post on social media and say, hey, I charge $10
for the hour or the month. Yeah.
It's like, this is what I'll do for you.
Yep.
And this is what I've done. This is what I've done. Like, that's why I will say most entrepreneurs that I see on LinkedIn are not building software and are not building like anything really like tangible. They're not starting a roofing company.
Right.
They're consultants. Like I think that is the 2025 version of an entrepreneur, where that Sure, that's not saying that there's no risk in that. You leave your
Yeah, of
you
course.
leave your salary, and you got a family to feed.
You
Now,
eat
will
what
you?
you hunt.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's definitely risk
Yeah.
there, but like you just said, it really is. Hey, I know that I'm worth X amount a month. I can go find 5 clients and cover my nut.
And one thing I've found just in some conversations, some sort of, I don't know, not that I'm in like the position in these conversations where I'm coaching, but it kind of is like, so what do you think, Nathan? Or what is your take on this? And I have found myself in a few conversations with other business owners, other entrepreneurs that I think that they have a legacy-esque business. And I've actually, without being rude, I think, get them to kind of understand that, wait, you're right, I do have a lifestyle business. And nothing's new under the sun. If you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you're familiar with the cash flow quadrant, that's really what we're talking about, is that there's this left side of the quadrant, which is the E and S quadrants, the employee and the self-employed. And then you have the right side of the quadrant, which is the B for business, big business, system-driven business, replicatable business. And then you have an I for investors. And I think what's happened, and I'm not saying this can't happen, but in a way, technology and the new world of work, it used to be that you had no other choice but to go through it from S to B to I, or E to S to B to I. And you can go from S to I, but you kind of have to be the lucky one. Like you have to be the wonder child, the wonder boy, the wonder girl. Because, I mean, how much pizzazz do you really have that people are going to start paying those insane amounts of money, or you're going to create this insane following? So I wouldn't.
If you do, it doesn't last.
And I don't know that it lasts emotionally. So the other factor in this is like, well, how's that going for you? Like, how do you feel in the morning when you wake up? Are you inspired, or are you going, I'm kind of alone on this beach in Bali? Yeah. So that's where I'm not.
300,000 people follow you.
Right. I'm not buying that it's like, but again, I'm like a hardcore dude that just chooses the hard path, the narrow path, the road least taken. Like that's just kind of my jam, probably even to a fault, but I'm convinced that juice is worth the squeeze. And the people that will come along with you because of how noble it is, that's where I gain a lot of my energy from, and a lot of my stick to itness and perseverance. And if I were just like a guy putting it out there in the world and making 30 grand a month, for me personally, I don't think that would satisfy my soul.
I know for a fact it would.
For me or for you? Okay, for me. For me. So are there people out there that just can do that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you see them all over the place.
Right. But are they happy? Like, are they?
I
that's what we don't know, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I know for you, like, especially knowing you at a deeper level, like, absolutely. Like, I know for a fact you could create a school community tomorrow, shut everything off at my core, and go make the same and or more than you are now by yourself with a community, getting on lives, doing those things.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if you would be fulfilled in the same way. And I think that does lead to a conversation that does need to happen, is you should feel fulfilled in your work.
Yeah.
Right?
It's got to hurt so good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think there needs to be a conversation around like, man, like, do you actually love what you do? Because we spend more time at work.
Bro, it is Friday at 4:22.
Yeah.
And most people are not working right now. No. They've checked out. Yeah. And we're doing this podcast after screwing up episode 3 because of the sound. The sound better be freaking working.
Do not delete this.
You hear me?
Yes. Most people aren't going out and doing anything. It's like working for the weekend. And we talked about this on another podcast. Like, Jamie's had to, like, snap me out of that a couple of times because I'll go home and I have friends that, work 9 to 5s, get every other Friday off. They make decent money and they're happy and they go on vacation once a year and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, if that doesn't sound like a fun experience.
Right.
But then like then I get back to my life and I'm like, no, I love this. But
Right.
it's like it's the fulfillment in the thing too, because it's like, man, I love, and I was talking to Jamie about this last night actually. It's like,
cool.
I love seeing people go from where they are to where they were meant to be.
Yeah, me too.
Like, and I think that it's not from where they are, from where they are to where they want to go, but where they were meant to be. What's their purpose?
Keyword be.
Be, exactly. Not do,
Yeah.
not what you were meant to do, but
To
what you
be
were
or
meant
not to be.
And I think there's a lot to be said around a lifestyle business. If you look at any of the guru advice out there, and it's not necessarily bad advice, it's just like, I think it's
Yeah, it's also just like missing a piece.
Yeah, because it's like the advice is like, what are you good at? Well, I'm good at a lot of things, right? But I also don't necessarily love all of those things, right? Like I remember when Beam sold, and I mean we've interacted with a couple of these people together, but there are people that came to me and said, "Hey, can you consult for my HVAC company?" And we're willing to pay $5, $10, $15,000 a month for me to work 5, 10, 15 hours a month.
Right.
You know, like,
right.
And it's like, I remember having the conversation with Jamie of being like, I don't actually care about that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, because for me, it's about taking an individual from where they are to where they're meant to be. A lot of times it's not necessarily the business, right? Like my passion was never like fitness technology when I first got started. It wasn't, consulting. My passion wasn't, consulting enterprise software companies and all these industries and all of this stuff. It wasn't HVACs and roofing and solar. Like that wasn't my passion. The thing that got me up every single day was the fact that I knew that there were people inside my organization that had goals and dreams and desires and places they wanted to go in their life. And I could be the catalyst that went and did that.
Yeah.
Right. And sure, some could argue that as a consultant, maybe you're helping that person go and do that. But I think there's like, at least in how I think about legacy, is like, that's what I care more about. It's like, I don't necessarily care about the HVAC company that's been there for 20 years and they're looking to go from 3 to 5 million. I care about the person that's looking to go from a single, 1-bedroom apartment to a 5-bedroom home with their family so that they can spend more time with their wife, spend more time with their kids, that they can, give them a life that they never had. That fires me up way more. And I think that about legacy. I think about what can I do with the money that I've made and the money that I will make to go and inspire others. We talked about the impact income loop. In another episode of like, man, I'm going to go make more money to go have more impact. The more impact I have, the more income that I can make. And that's the thing that it's missing from the advice out there. It's like, what are you good at? That doesn't necessarily fire anyone up to the point of just like, hey, I'm going to go be a consultant. Or I'm going to go start this thing, or I'm going to go do this thing because I'm good at it. Because the thing is, just because you're good at something doesn't mean that it actually fires you up. I know a lot of athletes that were phenomenal athletes that got pushed into doing the thing, and they were D1 level, D1 caliber that now work construction because they quit their junior year of high school because they were done with it. Yeah. And I think there's too much of that going on in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm hearing you talk about leading with who versus leading with what. And I think our society has programmed us to lead with what. We were literally asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah. Like, what a flawed question. You can't be a what. You can only be a who. What do you want to do? Well, let's figure that out later. Let's work on the character of the matter. Let's work on the integrity of the person. And I'm not just talking about like moral compasses. This isn't virtue per se. This is, well, like, what are your God-given gifts that are these universal characteristics that were like literally placed in you, that if you leave them dormant, then they won't have much effect. They won't be lit up. But if you dig deeper and you literally like fan the flame and you add some kindling and like properly cultivate and, you know, like unearth, like till the land, you can get tapped into these sources where you become a beast. And then you'll find that it's that process that is the sustainable, renewable resource, not so much what you're applying it to.
Yeah.
And I think people get caught up in that.
That's so good, dude. Yeah. Say that. Cool.
Right?
Like, when you figure out that core piece of you, you can apply that.
Well, bro, you know what? You're a prime example. I don't think we've pointed enough to your background to prove the power of leading with who, even as you share it. And so this is where another place where people get caught. People get caught on this bad because we've been programmed that we're supposed to stay in the same industry, be in the same general job. Because, you know, if somebody looks at your resume and they see that you've hopped around from this industry to that industry to that industry, they're going to go, oh, you must be a loose cannon, or you can't figure out who you want to be when you grow up.
Description still say 15 plus years in financial services. And you're just
right. So, I mean, yesterday when we were at C12, there's a lot of great things in those forums that we gain out of them. And you were sharing with the group your background, and you talked about going from tech startup to consulting, and they're like, okay, I see the connection there. And then it's like to solar and HVAC. Like, bro, we have this service where they mail us, like part of the service, they mail us like a filter every month. I ain't changed that shit in like 3 months, bro. Cause I just like forget. And I'm like, how do you put it in again? Yeah. Like, so I feel like the fact that you went into that and crushed it is proof positive that obviously there's like a developed and developing Ned, but who you were and who you are was a through line in all of that, right? And now you might call my core like venture, big project number, whatever, 4, 5, 6, whatever you're on. But you're not like any different. In fact, I think the reason you're here is because you're the most you've ever been able to be.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I think in every situation, right, I was the most I've ever been able to be. And there are like the situations in each thing, right, allowed me to grow as a person to then step into that next role with clarity and certainty and being okay with the uncertainties as well. And so I think that that's the biggest piece is like today I sit here having, 3 years of experience in home services, right? But that's still a business. There were still people involved. There were still systems. There was still process. There was still marketing. There was sales. There was fulfillment. There was all of these things, customer interactions, all of these things. But guess what? In home services, that was the same thing that I dealt with at, in selling gym apps, gym equipment, consulting, right? All of these things all intertwine. And so I think when people are thinking, hey, do I go build a lifestyle business or do I go build a legacy business? I think the question is, do you give a shit about who you are?
Right.
Because if you're going to build a lifestyle business, this is a very contrarian view. It's like you don't give a shit about who you are. You give a shit about what you're really good at. When you go build a legacy business, you give a shit about who you are, who you impact. And that's a completely different skill set as well. Like that's a completely different.
The approach. The approach is different. You literally come up to it daily differently. Like I wake up and I approach the legacy that we're building with a totally different mindset, skill set, tool set, because the asset. Here's something else. You often hear people throw around terminology or language like leave a legacy. And yes, naturally you're going to part ways with this world. We all have an expiration date, and we hope to leave a legacy. So you have the day you were born, you have the dash, and then you have the day you die. Super fun conversation. And I think that people think of legacy as the moment that you died. Some people have peeled back a layer and said, no, it's all about your dash. I actually think legacy begins the day you were born, and you're not leaving a legacy, you're living a legacy. That was a good comment I saw. I like that. Put that on a t-shirt. Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to respond to this, but he doesn't have to respond to the comments. like, yeah, man. Fucking yes. So you got to coach me on how to respond. Right, I do. Dude, me too. I go with the love. Hit me with the love, the insightful freaking.
You're so like, imagine if I like came to you with some just thoughtful comment, or just even asked you a question and in person, and I just went,
yeah, like if I just hit everyone with that live a legacy, and you're like yeah, live a legacy. Because here's what.
Actually, TM, fuck all y'all. Live a legacy.
We out.
Chairman podcast.
But here's the good, bad, ugly of that, right? I'm not angry, right? So like I am kind of an angry person, and it's just like a beast that lives within me. I have found all kinds of ways to like harness it, channel it, manage it, but it rears its head. Well, dude, that's not something I'm leaving. That's something I'm living. Like my kids already have seen that. They already, even before they saw it, it's like, how's that in you, right? Well, their DNA is wired in a way that I am, because they're an extension of me, and thank God not all me, and mainly their mother. If we don't need that many savages. Dude, crucial, right? So I think the mentality here too is that when people might hear a legacy business, they're thinking about what it's going to look like when they leave it. And I'm suggesting, what does it look like when you're living it? Like you're living this business right now. You're living this career. You're living this vision. Like start with the date of birth. And by the way, I'm really intentional about this. Like you've probably caught it. I often will state October 2nd, 2018, when we issue our Google Workspaces. I won't say this too out loud because some people don't take the time to change their password, but we give them the password.
I just realized that
1002.
Dude,
yeah,
that's okay.
It's cool, right?
Come on.
Yeah. See, I've built all these little like morsels and nuggets so that when people go, I've been here a year, it's like, I planned for that moment, you little fuck.
Wow, dude. But that's why your culture is the way it is because you are living the legacy. I think, like, dude.
Did you know the passwords lead with who at 1002? There's different characters, so yeah. Okay. But even the lead that we put the value and the date, because it is a subconscious message to say, hey, even though you're getting a Google Workspace, who cares? I want them typing in lead with who at 1002. And some people don't even pick that up until a moment like this, but it does something. Yeah, you must have. Isn't that fun? It's kind of fun.
That's cool. Like, it's interesting because this is something I'm interested to hear your thought on this because this was crossed my mind.
Cool. I love when you're like, this is happening. Yeah, the chairman.
We have so many of these conversations off.
Right, I know. Well, we were at Wawa, and we were just like getting hype. Plus, we got those really strong energy drinks. I was like, "Do we need a mic?"
But it's like, do you that you leave multiple legacies depending on
that's interesting
the era in which you were living that legacy?
Dude, as a big T Swift fan, yeah. Like I'm so in my like good dad era right now, but I was not. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that proves the point, right? Is that
Dude.
if you're being, and I've been blessed to be able to repair a broken marriage to the
Yeah.
same woman, and it was so easy. Promise. No, it was very hard. It is hard. And it's like the person I was from 25 to 30, there's obviously still like a great majority of that person, but is not the same person from 30 to 35 and from 35 to 40.
If someone leaves your life or left your life in that situation, is your legacy to them that? Because it's a living, breathing.
Dude, there are people that are not gonna like, so you know this whole like speaking thing that I'm doing?
Yeah,
Like-
being famous. Okay,
Right. Right. Tell everyone. So, you know, have I mentioned that? So I asked Laura to take point and say, hey, you know, if there's some people that you think would be willing and able to just genuinely share their thoughts and feelings around my speaking, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Did you read what Susan Marie wrote?
No, I haven't seen it.
Bro, it's nuts. I read it every morning now. It's nuts. I could read it, but I won't. It's like I will blush. And it's genuine, it's authentic. I'll read it to you after the episode. And then I haven't read this yet because I've been grinding this week. I saw an email, I think this morning or last night, where she said, if you think mine, and by the way, this is how just delightful Curtis and Susan Marie. They're a fucking delight, dude. Right. A breath of fresh, bro. They agreed to not look at each other's, like that's how intentional they were about writing about my speaking. And they were like, okay, I don't want your thoughts to inform my thoughts and it get like just commingled. So you go like write yours, I'll write mine, and then like that's it. Like that's how intentional they were. Isn't that crazy? So she said that. She told me that because I I saw it and then I didn't read it. And then Laura was like, I'm not writing one. I was like, why? She's like, did you read Susan Marie's? Like, nobody can follow that. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't read it. And I'm driving. She's like, well, I'll read it to you. I cried.
Yeah.
Tear glistening. A couple more than one. It was that like humbling. And then, well, I lost my shit yesterday too. That was not emotional. That was fucking breakdown. That a fucking breakdown. Dude, I lost my shit yesterday.
I told Connor the other day that men do cry.
Yeah, you got to.
Douchebag.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I'm sure he's listening. Every day he probably listens to the Chairmen. Well, that's hilarious. Love you. Oh my. So anyway, my point in saying all that, we got off on a tangent, was
That's my this podcast. I've realized it's like
keep me.
I just take this off.
That's awesome. My point is that like that highlight reel or those that person, like if that's been your experience with me, or people have been there, that's been their experience with you, their Yelp review of you is going to be one thing. And then there's people in my life that would write a very different review. I'd be like, that guy is an asshole because in this book. So I am far from perfect. And I like to think I don't have like a whole lot of enemies. I mean, typically I've treated people well or, whatever, but I'm sure there's people that are like, fuck this guy. And it's probably valid, like totally valid. So to answer your question, I think that the kind of like topic we were discussing there was, if you can be conscientious of this, if you can be aware, I would say not just self-aware, but like self-hyper-aware and sometimes that gets turned to like people are like, you're kind of self-aware, which is almost like a way of saying like you're self-assured or you're like you're fully yourself. You gotta be, man. Good, bad, ugly. Like I will state things that I'm like flat out bad at or that I have flaws in. Um, because like I said, I think Kenya chopped up a clip from it. It's like, get it out early, your flaws. Like let people know. You don't want there to be some shock factor. Oh my God. It's like, no, remember I told you, like I inoculated you to that so that you weren't shocked when it came. Anyway, so saying all this to say that like living a legacy, personal, business, combination thereof, I think comes with an awareness, like a daily awareness of the people around you and the impact that you're having on their lives and whether it's positive.
It's almost like if you lead with who, you can't build a lifestyle business. Because if you lead with who, you understand that the dash is not just like living life, it's living this legacy. And every step that you take is very purposeful and very thought out, and it aligns with that thing that you want at the end of the day. Like I've talked about this before, it's like I can close my eyes and see where I am in 10 years. 42-year-old man, where am I? What is happening when I wake up? Like all of that. And every step that I take every single day, what I say yes to, what I say no to, whatever it may be, aligns with that. And that is, I guess, this stage of my legacy, because that wasn't how I was previously.
Right.
But I think like to follow in the like mindset, in the skill set piece, I'm really interested in like what are the skill sets, because I've never really thought about legacy. I mean, shoot, my daughter's 5, and I didn't think about legacy until like yesterday.
Earlier on this episode. Right now.
You said living a legacy.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like I think that there's, because like early in the episode, I'm like, you could build $1 million business with ChatGPT, and like we could.
Of course you could.
But like, I'm curious from your perspective as someone who has lived a legacy and an intentional legacy for as long as you have. Like, what are the skill sets? I mean, self-awareness is probably one of them, for sure. Yeah. But what are the skill sets that you found have really allowed you to step into this? Like, I'm building this to outlast me. I'm building Nathan Bourne to outlast me. I'm building my core to outlast.
Yeah, man. Let's talk about that. And like I kind of said earlier, mindset can just sort of bleed into. So this is still some mentality, but there is practical, tactical application here. I would say leadership and being a real student of leadership matters. Something that we don't talk about enough as people and as leaders is fellowship. Think about it. There's so many books, and I got a bunch behind me that are on leadership. I want to write a book about fellowship. Wouldn't that be sick?
TM.
Right. So I've got some thoughts around this and some like kind of like, because Susan Marie, she is awesome in every sense. And when I start like having these types of conversations with her, she is documenting them. She's like, well, that's a book, so like we're embarking on this. And, that's kind of where with your leadership and your role, I'm getting kind of freed more and more up to go out and do these things. But I think like fellowship is crucial. Like I learned how to follow. And first and foremost, it's a covering of coming underneath of God and recognizing the sovereignty and the like just utter like strength and like just badassness of God. Yeah. So if you can get like a healthy fear of God, then you are starting to embark on wisdom. Right. It's the prerequisite. It's the first step. Dude, you could be a raging atheist. Read the Bible, you idiot. Like it doesn't matter. This is a life manual, and how to live it, and not just, again, to like fluff your nest or put feathers in your cap or to have more accolades, but to like have a way that you are. Um, and so that's one skill set of it, is like find something that's greater than you, but seek mentorship. Look for people that are further along, and you talked about this really well in the last episode, or you talked about, I think, in the my core. Yeah, starting to all blur, but just like how you've put yourselves in positions to be there. And look, I'm going to promote the Core Collective for a second, because why not? So we're going to do this event in the fall. You can go to our website. We'll start getting content out about this. But the final couple days of September, the first couple days of October, we're going to be in Eugene, Oregon, which is where the University of Oregon is, which is actually where Curtis and Susan Marie, they live near there. And we're going to put on this event. We're putting on this event called the Core Collective, and we're doing a VIP day on the first day, Monday. And it's essentially a full day with Ned and I. So if you don't like us, then, don't come. Like, just literally don't. We ain't got time for that.
You should still pay.
Yeah. If you want to just send us money, let's go. Awesome. No, but in all seriousness, we're going to have this like how day where we're doing this VIP, and I the risk of sounding corny, it's not very important person. It's very influential person, right? Like if you fancy yourself somebody that is interested in the art and science of influence, then you need to be one of those VIP. And I think we're limiting it to 25. Okay. 25 people, because we want it to be intimate. We want it to be like, hey, we're looking you in the runners and we're in this together. Plus there's going to be some things that we do leading up to the event, and obviously at the event and coming out of the event. So we have this sort of before, during, and after value that we want to bring to you. So anyway, I think that to be able to get into that room, the things that I had to do, the things that you had to do from like a time, energy, and money standpoint to get that proximity was a lot more than what we're talking about here. Yeah. So I went through hell and high water to get around people like that. Not because I thought they had pixie dust or because I thought it would rub off on me. It was because I wanted to follow the leader. And I knew that if I could find a leader that was a chapter or two ahead in this thing called life, then I would be like practically guaranteed to succeed, guaranteed to break through, because you can judge a fruit by its root. So if the people in your life are not fruitful, and money's a part of that, right? Stewardship's a part of that. Health is a part of that. Relationships is a part of that. And my jam, like the way I make my way in the world, dude, is the people I surround myself with. And not just because I glean from them, but because I showcase. I'm like a kid that wants to show off their like baseball cards or their Pokemon cards. And I'm like, here, let me show you this MVP. His name is Ned Eric, and he's now at my court, and these are his points, and this is his, stats. So yesterday in C12, the whole world that I live in there and have lived in there for 2.5 years changed because you were there. And typically, like when you came to Columbia, it's like, oh, damn, there isn't just a quality of people here. There's a quantity of quality. like our leadership team, our executive team, dude, like that is the team of a Fortune 100 company. Like I believe that all day, every day. And I can't expect them to follow me if I'm not following something, because that I'm not modeling. So C12, the material, the curriculum, I follow that. They see me follow it. They follow us, fellowship, God, discernment, Holy Spirit, the Bible. I follow it. I'm setting a signal that like I'm coachable. I'm listening. I'm adhering. And that's what fellowship is. Leadership is way more about fellowship. It's way more about following than it is leading.
Interesting. Yeah, because, I mean, the way that I always looked at it, and I never thought of it any other way than like, if I get in this room with this guy, he's going to ask a question that I wouldn't have even thought about in my wildest dreams. That's going to be a check in my box. I can learn by osmosis. But the way that I've always thought about it is like proximity is power.
Yeah. I like how you put that, proximity is power.
Because I remember it was probably 24, 25. And I went to this event and it was this guy named Cole Hatter. And he runs he talks about running like purpose-based businesses. That's his big thing. Made a bunch of money in real estate investing. Super awesome dude.
Nice.
But I paid, he had the event at his house. I think it was like 25 or 30 people total. It was more money than I had. But a mastermind that I was a part of was the guy that led it said, hey, I'm going to be there. You guys get, my discount, right? Whatever it is. Still a lot more money than I had at the time. And I spent the money, flew from San Francisco to John Wayne Airport in Orange County, got in an Uber, went to this guy's house, and in 48 hours, I learned more than I had in 24 years of life. And that following year is when the company I was with acquired. And I took a lot of the stuff that I gleaned, whether it be marketing and sales, because I've never been like a sales guy. Like that's just not who I've been. Right. But I've always been like creative and knew kind of how to market and bring things to life and things of that nature, but was able to like take a lot of what I learned there, and not only from like the speakers that were up at the top, but like the fact that there was literally 25 of us in the room, 24 other people, all going after the same thing I was, got to sit with Cole, got to sit with these guys and actually have conversations and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. What should I do? Hey, here's what I'm thinking. How should I do it? Right? Here's what I'm thinking. Who should come along with me? I mean, that proximity changed the trajectory of my career just because I spent, at the time, it was like $4,997 just to go there and then get a plane ticket. And at that time, like, sure, I was making decent money.
That's a lot of money, though.
But like, I mean, $5,000 is, I don't care how you cut it. I don't care what you're making. $5,000 is still $5,000.
Always, yeah.
like, I still to this day, I'm like, I don't want to spend $5,000.
Yeah, like on anything.
Like,
yeah.
So it's like, I think that's the thing when I think about proximity, and I think about like this fellowship that you're talking about is like, you have to let your pride and your ego down. Your ego is there literally, and there is some good ego, sure, but your ego is really there to let the world know that I'm okay. I'm doing well.
Yep.
I am outwardly better than you think.
Yep.
That's your ego. And you have to let that down. I think that's a huge skill set that people need to learn if they're going to live their legacy.
Yep.
Because Pierce actually put it on my LinkedIn.
I saw that. That was great. Yeah.
Like that was really, really cool around like a lot of people don't allow themselves to be vulnerable in tough situations. And I've fallen into that too, right? Because I've got this persona and this image, and it's like, no. You don't have to be vulnerable to everyone. Like, do you remember? I mean, it was like during COVID, there was like that one founder that like took a selfie of himself crying after he fired people. Did you ever run across that?
No. Yeah.
And
I feel like I've maybe seen it.
He was like, oh, I had to let people go. It's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, right.
You have to have this core group of individuals around you that you can go, dude, I'm struggling.
Yep.
I'm struggling financially. I'm struggling spiritually. I'm struggling relationally, physically, whatever it may be.
Right.
I'm struggling. And they can help you get on the path. And here's the cool part about followership is if those people that you're going to are a step ahead of you, or they may not be a step ahead of you, but they're not broken like you are. Now you are in a place of following their advice, following their lead. And I think there's just aspects of our life, whether it be in business, personal, whatever it may be, that we have to get in this posture of I am open to following the lead of individuals that have been there, done that, got the whole damn outfit,
right?
Or are on the way to get the whole damn outfit. You know, maybe I've just put my pants on and they've got their their shirt on.
Yep.
It's like, dude, I need to now learn
Yep.
how to put my shirt on and be okay with saying, hey, dude, I actually don't know how to do that
Yep.
thing. And I think that's the biggest skill set that I would say is like, be okay with being the person in the room that doesn't know the most. You shouldn't be the one that knows the most. So,
And no, it's great, man. I'm digging it. I think to like echo that even further, some things that came to mind for me as you were sharing that, it made me think of geese, gooses,
goose eye.
goose eye, mice, mice. Have you seen that, by the way? Did you see that? It's really funny. It's like a reel where they're like, they're like mice. No, I think it's mices, man. It's like, so, if you look at the way the geese fly in that formation, that V formation, they take turns, they rotate, and somebody's leading, and the like draft is taken off of them because they're at the tip of the spear, they're at the front of the pack, and they're just like taking on the wind. I'm not sure if they're hitting bugs up there, but just like get smacked in the face. I think that what getting in the room does, like what I imagine on that VIP day, isn't that there's two leaders, Ned and Nathan, and everyone else is following, and like you fall at our feet and we have all the answers. As we go through the material in an entire day, there are going to be people that they're at the top of the game on that given topic, on that nuance. And that's what peer advisory does. That's what C12 does, is that I might be 36 years old. I might be half the age of most people in that room. I might have a business that does X amount of revenue compared to theirs. But there are things that come up in that material that I'm like, this is my shit. Like, I'm going to be leading the conversation on this, and y'all would be hard pressed. And then most of the time, I'm flying, following behind, going, oh, that's a nugget. Oh, that's good, right? Because there are your Slumdog Millionaire moments. There are those moments in life that prepared you for that answer. And I'm of the belief that that's like ordained, that like it's not random, that like that life event occurred so that later you can unearth the lesson in it and apply it for impact, apply it for ripple effect. So yes, the other thing I think it does, in addition to like the information, because I can guarantee you this, all of the information that we will cover on that day and any other day, any other setting, you can get 100% from ChatGPT. Yeah. You can get it on YouTube. You could probably get it in the videos. Shit, you'll just get it from listening to the Chairmen podcast. Yeah. So why doesn't Google and Chat and YouTube, why don't those universities, why don't those methods of learning really affect much? I'm of the belief that you have to create the moment where your belief bank increases. So the cognitive dissonance that kicks in when you drop $5,000, especially if it's your last $5,000, you show up differently. The skin that just came off your back is like, I have to apply this. Yeah. I have to make this work. Yeah. Right? And we're not doing that. That day is $997. And I wasn't even sure if this were the case, but now I know. That includes the rest of the event. So you're paying $997 to be in that room, and then you get the next 2 days, which people are paying $397. So in essence, you're paying an extra $600. So it's like for $600.
The playbook, like walking out with.
You and I have a combined 30 plus years of experience, and we're 32 and 36. It's rare to have that much experience and it be like fresh, not like, well, back in the 80s, you know, like this is real time shit. Yeah. So I know we're kind of like self-promoting a little bit, but I, yeah, but I mean that at the risk of sounding that way, because what I did is I took a lot of skin off my back. Put differently, I burned my ships. And when I landed on the island of life and looked back at those ships aflame, I was like, I have no fucking choice. Like I have to make this work. I have to conquer this hill. And I think too often people play it safe.
Yeah.
And they don't take enough chunk out of their skin. They don't like really make it hurt. And that's why they never put it together.
It's because when you don't do that, it's not a requirement for you to take action, right? When you don't do the things that, and like this actually goes into like the tool set piece, right?
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah, keep
like,
us going, you process integrator, you. Yeah.
It's like, I think that, it's interesting. And I think there are a lot more skill sets, right? As well.
Yeah.
You can, learn to build a legacy business, and that will come just by being.
By the way, I don't want to lose this thought because I was thinking about this as you were speaking. And I think I can be concise. I think here's the thing and why I'm just like always a proponent for building legacy businesses. You actually get lifestyle from legacy. You don't get legacy from lifestyle.
Dude.
So it's like go for legacy because you'll get lifestyle. You might have to delay gratification.
Yeah.
Did it resonate with you yesterday? It seemed like, I don't know, maybe people were being polite, but when that one dude in the group, he's new to the group, Trey, he was talking about his struggle with patience. And then I said something along the lines of like, well, maybe you're looking at patience instead of forbearance, that whole thing. We could talk about that too. But I think that there's like
you should go deep on that
right now. I feel like I interrupted you though.
No.
All right. The Red Bull's just Red Bulling.
Because I think that is a skill set that needs to be learned. Right. Because I think like the aspect of what you just said around, no, you get lifestyle from legacy. You do not get legacy from lifestyle is exactly what you're about to talk about. Like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, you bridged that well. So, no, you said it better. No, you no, you hang on. You go. You know the like software that'll tell you how much you talked? I know that I talk more. Sorry. But what you say is better. So anyway, I was in this group yesterday. We went to the C12 meeting. If you don't know what C12 is, get your life together. God. It is a Christian organization for business owners, C-suite leaders, and it operates under a model called BAM, B-A-A-M, Business as a Ministry. So we essentially get together, we go through like ministry topics, but mainly through the lens of business and vice versa. Anyway, we were talking about patience. And one of the individuals in the group was essentially saying he struggles with patience. And it just got me thinking as the group went around, and I kind of just said, well, if you look at the 9 fruits of the Spirit, the 4th, by the way, is patience. But it's not actually patience, the word in its original form, like we know patience today, which is to just wait it out or sit on your hands or, let it pass. It's a word much more like forbearance, which is the ability to delay gratification, right? To be able to set out into the future the prize, the juice being worth the squeeze. And I said, for me, one of the ways that I've been able to like harness more patience than most is because my mindset is based on forbearance, in that if I give this the right amount of time to marinate, to develop, to saturate, it's going to be so much gooder. It's going to be so much better a year from now, 6 months from now. And it doesn't mean you have to keep moving the goalpost or like not hit your metrics on the way there. It's not an excuse model. It's a different mindset and skill set to say, well, wait, if I develop that person, that process, that brand, that relationship, that program, like what we're doing right now with the People Ops certification, you don't rush that, because if you get it right, it just like crushes. Yeah. And that I think is really, really important, because if you are building a lifestyle business, I would just challenge you and say you're being impatient.
Yeah.
You're not delaying gratification. You want it now, and understand the practical nature of having to pay your bills and proving to your spouse that you don't have to go get a real job. But you need to figure that out. Like, you need to figure out a way to simplify your life, to pay your damn bills, to justify doing it while you're building the legacy and the arc to the story and the crescendo. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it, is forbearance versus patience.
Yeah, because I think everyone is impatient if you look at it from the perspective of wait, sit on my hands, do nothing.
Yeah, that sucks, dude.
That sucks.
It's like trying to tell your kids, like, wait for dessert. They're like, for why?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not good at that. Yeah. Oakland will be like, "Have ice cream?" I'm like, yep.
Oh, yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Half-baked.
But I think it's like everyone's impatient. But when you put it in the lens that you just put it in, like I said this yesterday, it's like I call it proactive patience.
Oh, I like that.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I'm glad you brought that back up.
It's like
that was good.
It's like, okay, here's the prize, here's the promise. You know, I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not. That's the key. Yeah. And I think that's a lot.
That's self-awareness.
That's a huge skill set that you need to have. It's just like understanding where you are today is like, hey, if you want to be a sales consultant like every other person that's just been fired from their AE job, right? Is I want to be a sales consultant.
Peace be with you. We're praying for you.
Like, are you ready to do that? Well, maybe that is like the ultimate goal. You want to be a sales consultant. You want to travel and sit in front of people and tell them how to sell people stuff. Cool. That sounds horrible, but like, that's awesome. Here's the thing. If you were just let go from your job because you did not hit your metrics, do you feel as if you should be sitting up in front of that person? And I'm shitting on this type of person, but it's anything, right? It's like, you know, it is. It's like Oakland. I'll give a great example. My 5-year-old daughter, right? She just got put up into gymnastics. She's now in like the 7 and 8-year-old group, right? Because she's my daughter.
She kills. Yeah. That's awesome.
Right? But the thing is like, I remember a year and a half ago when she started gymnastics, she was still doing somersaults where she would like go on her head and then just like
plop. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, if we had put her with the 7 and 8-year-olds who are doing back handsprings and are doing flips into the foam and doing all of that, like, although the 7 and 8s were always before the like tots or whatever her age group was. It's like, so she's watching them and she's going, man, like and she would say, she'd be like, oh, can I do that? Can I do that? Can I do that? I'd be like, one day. Yeah, absolutely. If you keep coming here week after week, yeah, absolutely. And now we've got her in gymnastics 3 days a week. And now because of that, because we've taken the steps, she's now able to be in that 7 and 8 group. But here's the thing. Now she's looking at that 7 and 8 group and going like, this is where I'm meant to be right now. She's now saying, I want to go be with the 10-year-olds or the 9-10s and then the 11-12s. So it's like, it's so important that you understand where you are today, or that you have a person that can tell you, hey, bro, pause. Because the proactive patience is, I want to be in the 7 and 8-year-old gymnastics group. I'm 4 years old. I still can't do a somersault properly. I need to go to gymnastics every single week. Now, then twice a week, then 3 times a week. And now I can do back handsprings at 5 years old. And now I'm going to be with those girls. And now she's fired up about it because she's in the right place at the right time with the right experience and with the right skill set. And so, and to go on is, and with the right tool set.
Right.
She has the things because she took action on the coaching. We've got at the house, we've got what do they call it? A balance beam. She's got bars at the house. She's got
the tools.
She's got the tools. Yeah. But what's interesting about it is, if she had come home and gone every day and just sat on her iPad, instead of literally every morning when she wakes up, this is what she does. She'll come outside. She'll come and wake me up. She'll put her leotard on and she'll go and do gymnastic stuff before she does anything else. Yeah. Like before she even eats breakfast. That's what she does. And there's too often I see businesses and business owners and lifestyle business or legacy business where they try to be somewhere before they have the tools and the experience and the skills to be able to go fulfill that thing. Here's the thing. You have one shot.
Right.
You have one shot to get this thing right.
Yeah.
And sure, you know, there's a lot
Arms
of
are heavy.
What's that?
I said arms are heavy.
Yeah.
Mom's spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get one shot, and you have to prepare in a way that when that moment happens, your execution is flawless.
Yeah.
You stick the landing. As you were sharing that story about Oakland, I have a unfortunate real-time story that is why I limped in here today. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell this quick story because I think there's a lesson and it's a little bit humbling. I wrestled in college, Division One. What's up? So you kind of have to be good to do that, right? You can't suck. So the problem is I stopped wrestling in 2010, and hardwired into my mind and my muscle memory is a 20-year-old stud that was a Division One athlete. Well, I'm a 36-year-old dad, and I have, yes, been doing CrossFit for the last 4 years, but I haven't been grappling and wrestling. So I've decided I'm going to join this jiu-jitsu gym because I was like, I'm 36. I'm a white male. I need to have a podcast and do jiu-jitsu. Right? So, like, obviously. So I join, and I go last night to the first class officially, and they go through the thing, and I learned some really good techniques and did a little bit of like what we would call live rolling, and then they do what is called randori, which in this Gracie school it's like very structured. And the guy that owns the place, who invited me because his son wrestles at the high school that I've been coaching, he was like, hey, obviously you're a decorated wrestler. He said, I think you should take the next 3 months and learn from the ground up. He said, if you do that with your wrestling and grappling, you will skyrocket with this like foundation of jiu-jitsu. He's like, but I don't think you should go live and roll until then. And I'm like, okay. And that was humbling, like kind of like, okay, so these guys get to go like grapple, and I have to sit on the side. These white, like, well, fuck these guys up. Yeah, they're white belts. I was gonna say white belt, but these other podcasters. So I'm like, yeah, cool. But he like even struggled kind of telling me that, because he's like sitting there in like a business park in St. Augustine saying, hey, Division One wrestler, you need to go to the corner. And I was totally cool about it. I said, man, yeah, totally. He said, you know what? Why don't you do this? Roll with my son one time, and then why don't we do that? Bro.
Well, we know what happened.
I can't even walk right now. Fuck my knee up. And in the moment, I'm like getting in, like good, like hitting it. I'm like, I don't know really to that part, but I'm cool. I'm holding my own. I didn't choke him out. He didn't choke me out. But there's one little point where like scrambling, and my knees like tweaking, like, never good. Like that probably wasn't good. But it wasn't like it blew out.
Yeah, when you're in your 30s, for all you 20-year-olds listening, you're in your 30s and you feel something snap, crackle, or pop,
right?
Just stop.
Dude, so I keep going. I like get home. I'm like, this doesn't feel so good. I sit. I go to bed. 4 a.m. I wake up like, oh my gosh, man. And I barely could get dressed this morning. You've seen me hobbling around. Why am I saying that? Is that a lot of times I think people take a season in their life when they won, when they were the man, when they killed it, when they were decorated, and they just keep dusting off those trophies, and they forget the almost 20-year freaking time lapse, the 15, 16 years since that dude, which I could show you pictures of, does not look a whole lot like this dude, and go like, got this. And I honestly did approach it humbly, but I went into that little role like come on, like I got this. So I think people stop growing, stop developing. Leg wrestling oh, that guy was a monster. Yeah, no, screw that guy. That was he's a great dude. But yeah, there was just a tree trunk. It was like leg wrestling a car. So I say all that to say, real time, I am in pain, but I'm going to nurse it. I'm going to heal it up, and I am going to absolutely not roll live for 90 days. Yeah. I'm almost thankful, assuming this isn't like a full-blown ACL tear or something, that this happened, because it just gave me like the rude awakening that I needed. Yeah. And as you were sharing the story of Oakland going through that process of getting her mind right, learning the skills, having the right tools, I would just say, and we're just going to constantly shamelessly plug the stuff we're doing, because why wouldn't we? If you're listening and you're saying like, I need to work on these things, I want to work on these things, you need to join the MyCore Academy. We have a school community called the MyCore Academy, which is based on this formula. It's a whopping $27 a month. I hate that it's that cheap, but we wanted to create such a low barrier of entry that you can like embark on the next stage of growth and go into the classroom like the moment you join, and go take the course that I built called The Art and Science of Vision. Go listen to and watch the videos and the curriculum where Curtis and Susan Marie talk about how to be a networking ninja. Look at Ken and Patty and their leadership playbook. Go through the growth series where we had subject matter experts come in. And I know Tony right now, fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but Tony is building a course right now from his keynote that he did out at our event, Just Do It. Yep. So anyway, I think that like it's the spaced repetition of every single day developing while having those big rocks like the event in Oregon this fall that you can then measure against, and you need to come create a baseline. So whether you do the VIP or not, you need to come to the event and you need to say, okay, this is where I'm at in my life. And in 6 months, because we're going to be doing these events every 6 months, did I progress? Did I digress? Did I stay the same? Which, by the way, there's no such thing as stagnant. You're either growing or you're dying, you're ripening or you're rotting. And that's how I think just cultivating an organization, building a business, and ultimately living your legacy. I think that's how you do it, man.
I love it. I think honestly, that's the end.
Mic drop?
Like, yeah, dude. I think I'll because I like.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, man? Throw a cherry on top. We'll land the plane.
The biggest thing that I'll say here, and this is something that I took away big time, is no matter if you walked into this podcast today building a lifestyle business, transition your mind to building a legacy business, because you can get lifestyle from legacy. You can't get legacy from lifestyle. No. And understand that you have to take the walk, right? And I think that there are too often, one thing that I will say is there's too many people. I think I think there was a stat that I told you a while ago. It was like 1% of podcasts get over 10 episodes.
Dude, it's 21. So 21 episodes to be in the top 1%.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Because the MyCore podcast, I'm on like 19, and I've had that number in my mind, and I've been like working towards it. So this is 3. So it's like, dude, we do however 18 more of these, and we make sure the volume's on.
Yeah, the volume.
And you're in the 1%. It's crazy.
That's an interesting piece, right? Because here's the thing that I think that I'll leave people with is that 21 episodes is like what? Just under 6 months, right? If you do one a week. Right. And most people quit before then. Why? Because they're not seeing the results. Most people quit in business because they're not seeing the results. And what I would just challenge you all with is that when you change your mindset from, I just want something to pay my bills, I just want something to get me that bigger house, I just want something that's going to get me the toys and the things that the world says success is, and you change your mindset to, I'm building a legacy. Not only building, I'm living a legacy. And I don't want something that's just going to pay my bills. I want something that's going to impact people today, tomorrow, and through the end of time. And I'm going to leave a mark on this world, no matter come hell or high water. I think that's where you really start to change from like, man, I just want to be at the beach at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday to I am on the beach 2 p.m. on a Tuesday because I took the steps, I took the lumps, I tore my ACL.
Got it.
But you did it, and then you got through it, and then you did it, and then you got through it, and you did it, and you got through it. Like, if you can really start to outlast, because that's the thing with business. It's the business that lasts the longest that wins.
It's a game of stamina.
Not the business that makes the most money out of the gate.
No.
Business is a game of stamina.
Yeah.
And so if you are looking to start a business, have started a business, or are in a business right now, start thinking about 10 years from now. Start thinking about 20 years from now. Because it is that business. What? Most millionaires are in their 50s, right? And it's not most millionaires have 7 streams of income. They have 7 streams of income because at 50, when they became a millionaire, they started to diversify. They didn't diversify at 20, at 25, even at 30. Right?
And I bet you they 7 dipped. They probably had one thing that they did that then they found a second, a third, and a fourth, and a fifth way to make money off of that one thing.
Yeah.
That's how we've done it.
It's today. Is find that one thing, find the thing that you want most in this world, the impact that you want to make. Start being proactively patient, being okay with forbearing that thing so that you can get the skills and the tools and build your mindset to then go and actually achieve that thing. And I can promise you, if you do what we talked about today in this podcast, you will get to Eugene, Oregon in September 29th.
Yeah.
And you will be a changed person, let alone if you do come and actually get in a room with us where you can pick our brains and actually ask questions around the theories and the philosophies and the executable tactical pieces that we give you to grow a business that is a legacy business. Man, I'm fired up.
Dude, heck yeah. Enough said.
Love
Love it. Peace.